man, there we go. And I think, Jack, we might be live. Let me see what I can do here.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
I swear to God, this thing just dries. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. Starting off our week here, Thursday through Sunday. So as you all know, we got a lot to catch up on. We're live right now on Roku, YouTube, Facebook, all over the place, Jack. And we'll be on live on other stations as we get going through the day. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, legendary boxing writer, Hall of Famer, Jack Hirsch. And, of course, Jack knows a lot about more than just boxing, as you know. He's quite a historian when it comes to all sports. Today we're scheduled to have on Carter Beef with our NHL update. And then at 9, we have a special guest lined up for you, the Iceman, John Scully, who not only is a world-class title contender and a trainer of champions and a Gold Glove medalist, but he also is co-trainer of a guy named Artur Beterbiev. And I made a prediction before the fight that Joe Smith would beat Artur Beterbiev. And we're going to bring him in so he can kind of rub me a little bit. But hey, listen, I love John Scully, so I can't wait to have him on. So, Jack, how you doing today?
Mac, I'm fine. I'm waiting for you to let me get in a word. I mean, you said we're live. You got to understand that, Mac. You're sometimes frustrated and you're mumbling. You know who you remind me of a little, and I hope it doesn't happen to you, Uncle Don. Uncle Don had a kids show in the 1950s. He had a blooper. He thought he was off the air. And he said, that ought to hold the little bleeps, he said. And he got fired, Uncle Don. You got to be careful, Mac.
You
know, when you're on the air and they can hear your voice and when you're not, and you're a frustrated individual sometimes when you're live on the air. But what were we talking about? We're having Carter for hockey, Scully for boxing, there's baseball, football, basketball, the works.
Yes.
50th anniversary of Title IX even. I don't know. We don't have time to get to all these things, Mac. We don't lie to the listeners. We don't say we're going to cover it all because it's impossible to cover it all. There are too many topics out there, too many great topics. We get to the best and eventually we get to the rest.
We sure try to, Jack. So let's start with a guy named Ohtani. He strikes out 13 batters last night and he drives in 8 RBIs. He drives in 8 runs the night before. This guy is amazing, Jack.
He's amazing, and I'm going to tell you, with all the Aaron Judge talk, I've heard a few whispers Ohtani's going to become available, in the not too distant future, and the Yankees might make a bid on him. And Ohtani said before the season, if the Angels don't pick it up and start winning, he's not going to be interested in hanging around and being a career Angel. And he didn't use the words Mike Trout, but basically he was saying he doesn't want to go through what Mike Trout has been going through. Mike Trout, one of the great players in the history of baseball. You heard me right. In the history of baseball, has only been to the playoffs once. I mean, they haven't advanced in the playoffs. They haven't gotten even a sniff of being close to the World Series, the Angels. And it has to be pretty depressing for a great player to play on a team that really is not going anywhere. And So I'm not that sure with Ohtani, who the Yankees badly wanted before he became an Angel. And they thought he was going to become a Yankee, but then Ohtani surprised them by going to the Angels. What's a great accomplishment, Mac? 13 strikeouts, 8 runs batted. And I kind of think 8 runs batted in because that's so rare. But 13 strikeouts and all those runs batted in. The greatest two-way player, you can argue, combination pitcher, everyday player since Babe Ruth, and maybe ahead of the Babe, because the Babe really didn't do the two while he was a Yankee. He only pitched a handful of games when he was a Yankee.
And he won them all too, Jack. He won all 5 games that he pitched as a Yankee too. So he still had his stuff, but not like this, Jack. Not every day. And with the Red Sox, he kind of did. And he did pitch and bat. But the Red Sox wanted him. They wanted him to play the outfield because it kept his power. His power. They thought it kept his power up anyway. And the Yankees really didn't want to hear him pitching at all, except for the 5 times he did, as you said, and he did win all 5 times.
But I wonder, Mac, is Ohtani going to set a new trend where we have little leaguers who play multiple positions? They play them in high school, and when a player shows the potential to become a big leaguer, they basically give him one position to concentrate on, not a few positions. I know they're utility men who could play a few positions, but the star players, Mac, just about always play one position. You kind of wonder with Ohtani being an outfield and a pitcher, is that going to be a new trend in a way? Because some of these outfielders got great arms. And if you get their mechanics down, they might be able to actually become effective big league pitchers.
I know they're talking about it. There were some people who played first base. Trying to remember the guy for the Mets, first baseman for a long time with the Mets. He was really good. He played with another team too. And
not John Olerud.
Yes, and he could pitch like crazy. He was a great pitcher.
I wasn't familiar. I remember Rocky Calavito, great outfielder, predominantly with the Indians. I remember when he became a New York Yankee, I remember him, when I was a kid, taking the mound and pitching and how excited we were. It was a novelty. Rocky Calavito pitching, but they didn't bring Calavito in a mop-up role for that game. They brought him in with the game being on the line. So that was kind of exciting.
There you go. So Ohtani just doing a lot of things. Manny Ramirez, this is crazy, calls Jeter an ordinary player. If he was on another team, he wouldn't have been, such a great player. Now, why would Manny Ramirez, a guy that Derek Jeter never has called out, said anything about his steroid use, has never said anything bad about Manny, want to call out a guy that had a Hall of Fame career? There's no doubt he should be in the Hall of Fame. And there's no doubt he was a great player. Now, why would Manny Ramirez, unless Jack, he's got sour grapes because he hasn't gone in the Hall of Fame or he wants some attention? I don't get it. The Red Sox fans even respect Derek Jeter. So here's this idiot calling out Derek Jeter when there's really no reason for it.
I'm going to defend Manny, actually. I think it was taken a bit out of context. What Manny Ramirez said was, if Derek Jeter wasn't with the New York Yankees, he wouldn't be as big as he was. If he played like, let's say, the Kansas City Royals. And in fairness to Manny Ramirez, he used himself as an example. Manny Ramirez said he became much bigger when he became a member of the Boston Red Sox. When he played for the Cleveland Indians, Manny Ramirez said, I wasn't as big a star as I was with Boston, because at Boston, I was spotlighted more. The same way with Jeter, with the Yankees, he was spotlighted more. Listen, Derek Jeter has the 6th most hits in the history of baseball. That means only 5 players in the whole history of Major League Baseball have more base hits than Derek Jeter. That one stat itself shows how great Derek Jeter was. But in reality, the market you play in does have a lot of importance. It took me a long time to come to that realization. I mean, if Mickey Mantle didn't play in New York, let's say he played in Milwaukee and Hank Aaron played in New York, Hank Aaron would have been elevated more. Now we appreciate Hank Aaron more, but it took quite a while. If Derek Jeter played in a smaller market, if he was drafted by the Houston Astros, whose scout quit his job when the Astros wouldn't draft Derek Jeter, he was so disgusted. Okay, had the Astros drafted Derek Jeter, well, how would we think of Derek Jeter? Would we think of him like we would Hall of Famers Robin Yount, Paul Molitor? I mean, how would we think of him? I'm not sure, but Derek Jeter wouldn't be as big as he was if he wasn't with the Yankees. So let's say Derek Jeter played for the San Francisco Giants, who won 3 World Series in 2010, 12, and 14. Would he still be as big? And I think the best way to do it is to look at the other iconic players in baseball. And I'm not talking about a Willie Mays who has New York stamped on him, and see how big are they compared to Derek Jeter. Should any of them be put on a par with Derek Jeter? I mean, I think playing in New York, winning, the whole image thing, that's what Manny was trying to say. That it elevated Derek.
Maybe he was
putting Derek Jeter.
Wait a minute. Maybe he was trying to say that, but that's not what he said. He came out and said he was an ordinary player, Jack. And Derek Jeter is no ordinary player. I don't care where he plays. He wouldn't be ordinary. So listen. I don't care if Manny tried to backpedal or not. To me, it's just unprofessional to say that.
Well, I'll say this, Mac. Manny Ramirez on the Red Sox had 2 very close friends who were fellow Dominican players, David Ortiz and Pedro Martinez. The 3 of them are like inseparable when they went on the Red Sox together. Pedro Martinez says Derek Jeter's the toughest guy he ever had to pitch against. And Derek Jeter returns the compliment. Pedro Martinez gushes over Derek Jeter, okay? And Pedro doesn't give compliments so easily, especially to chief rivals like the Yankees. Yet Pedro Martinez keeps saying he has so much respect for Derek Jeter. He's the one guy who gave him the most difficult, like I said a moment ago, gave him the most difficulty. So that would be more of an authority. Listen, we know what Derek Jeter was, but let's be honest about it. New York did elevate Derek Jeter a bit.
Of course, playing in a big market elevates you.
Yeah,
of course it does. It. But it doesn't mean that he's an ordinary player, Jay. That's all I'm trying to say. Don't call him an ordinary player. Say the market.
He was a great player. Everyone recognized it.
Ordinary.
I think they recognized that.
I saw Jay. He's an ordinary, but that's okay. The Ravens, they lose two players in one day. Linebacker Jalen Ferguson and former star defensive tackle broadcaster Tony Siragusa. Now, the Ferguson was playing. He's playing, but they found him unconscious and trying to bring life. He didn't make it. And they found Tony Siragusa. Both of them, they don't know why yet. There's no autopsies done why they passed. But talk about a bad day for a team, Jack.
It's a terrible, yeah. Especially when someone is young and then Tony Siragusa himself was only 55. Mm-hmm. He was grossly, he was a big guy, a grossly popular, personality. And Tony Siragusa was very likable by everyone. He was, a key part of the Ravens 2001 Super Bowl champion team that beat the New York Giants. And then, he did a good job as a sideline reporter when he retired. Just one of these real likable individuals. And you hear news like that. And Ray Lewis, tweeted out about Tony Siragusa. He said he was like a brother to him. And Ray Lewis, who was considered basically the leader of that team on defense there, was very quick to want to try to shift credit to Tony Siragusa, what he meant to that squad and what he meant to him personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I mean, Byron Williams was on last night on J&B Talking Shop, and he says 400 players pass away every year. About 400 players are coming into the NFL, so it's a circle. And we pay attention because they are famous. We do, and it happens a lot more to everybody else. But of course, we send our hearts out to the Siragusa and Ferguson family, and good luck, man.
Well, I don't know. Can you blame the game on this happening with, those with certain particular players? Like in the case of Tony Siragusa, he was a little bit an older guy in the mid-50s. But I don't know. Can you blame the game on that?
Well, I'm not blaming the game. I'm just saying, that it's a shame that two people this young and face it, 55 is not old, Jack, today. So both of them losing their lives in one day is pretty sad. Let's get to Watson a little bit, Andre Watson. He settles with 20 out of 20.
Watson.
Yes, Deshaun Watson, sorry. He settles with 20 out of 24 complainants. The other 4 are holding out. Word is, Jack, this is the rumor, there's going to be 60 complainants total against Watson before this is over with. So
yeah, sometimes I'm hesitant to talk about the case. Massage therapists are professionals, okay? And there were too many who came out. Deshaun Watson, it's hard to believe his innocence. Completely, let's put it that way. It's very, very hard when so many are coming out. And it's a messy situation. I don't know what the settlement was, but if 20 settled, obviously they were satisfied with the monetary amount. How much of a monetary amount someone should be entitled to, is a matter of opinion. I don't know the particular details. I could say more on it, but sometimes, it's best you don't, because it's so messy and we don't know all the facts of the case, basically, you or I, because the NFL is investigating. So there are things behind the scenes that we're not even aware of that possibly could alter our opinion, one way or the other. So, we just can't comment it, but it's so messy. It's so sickening at this point. You would think the NFL, they've got to resolve this before the season, because it would be a little unfair to the Cleveland Browns if, let's say, 2 weeks before the season begins, they suspend, the quarterback part of the year, the whole year, or whatever. I mean, the Cleveland Brown organization has to prepare. They have to plan. But then again, the Cleveland Brown organization had to know what they were getting themselves into too, because everything wasn't quite settled. They know Deshaun Watson isn't going to jail. So it's not a question of that. It's just a question of what penalties, if any, the league is going to levy on him. And I'm going to tell you, with all these congressional hearings and the bad PR that the league is taking, the NFL cannot afford to give Deshaun Watson a light enough penalty that's going to outrage women groups. So part of this becomes political now, where the NFL has to hit Deshaun Watson pretty hard just so they don't come across as being soft on this.
Jack, it's a great point. And speaking of that, we know Goodell is going to be testifying before the oversight committee of.
Well, he did.
Okay. Well, I haven't heard any word from it yet.
Right. Yesterday with the Daniel Snyder situation.
I haven't heard anything back on that as so far today anyway, unless you saw something.
No. Goodell basically told the congressional hearing there that it doesn't have the authority to fire Daniel Snyder. And thank you, he's actually correct. Goodell doesn't have the authority
to. Of course not. But
force him to sell. It takes 24 of the 32 owners.
Right. I agree.
75% to make it happen.
I agree.
But this is a question that's, I think, going to be in one of our debate shows. Should commissioners be hired by owners? Right there, that is one of the great conflicts, because commissioners traditionally have to serve owners. Sometimes they discipline owners, But the only time a commissioner is going to discipline an owner is if they know his or her fellow owners. I notice I use the word hard because I hope we get to the point of more women owners in sports.
Oh, Jack, stop.
I'm getting political myself now, but the commission has to know that the fellow owners are going to be okay with one of their own getting disciplined. That's the only time a commissioner is going to do it, because otherwise the commissioner could lose their job. If they tick off the owners, the commissioner's own job is in danger.
Yeah, they have to be voted out or voted in by the same number of people. So if the number of people are with him, he'll probably get voted back in. But we'll go there in a minute. But what I was going to say was there's rumors that I've heard from sources that Goodell actually is the one that leaked the Gruden story to take the attention away from Dan Snyder. Now, if that's true, because he's really, the NFL is the only one that knew it. If that's true, it's pretty shady, Jack.
It would be, and it would be very unethical. I find it hard to believe that Goodell would be thinking along those lines. And as far as the Gruden situation went, the NFL wanted his case thrown out, but a judge ruled they're going to be going forward with the Gruden case. And I want to know, that's one of the things that bothers me as well. Let's say you have a person who says some unethical things, but they're saying it in private to someone else, and someone somehow can get possession of their emails.
Well, it's public.
Should there be a penalty involved? Listen, Donald Sterling, when he owned the LA Clippers, said some reprehensible racial things, but he was saying it in privacy to someone and they got hold of it. And what he was saying in the privacy of his own house, he got let go. But then again, I have mixed feelings on it, because on one end, you want to protect someone's privacy, and on the other end, some things are so reprehensible, they're hard to ignore.
Well, as I said before, it wasn't private, Jack. He was doing it in a public forum when he was at Monday Night Football. So it was a Monday Night Football.
We're talking about John Gruden.
Right.
No, I think it was John Gruden's emails. No, it was his emails to Bruce Allen when he was GM.
It was on a public site, Jack. It wasn't a private. It was on Monday Night Football site. So that is the NFL can look into. So that was crazy.
That's the case.
That was crazy that he did that. That he did that on a public site, but he didn't think anybody was going to come back and fire him over what he said to the Washington Redskin guy, especially when he knew what was going on with Snyder. But anyway, that's the rumor out there, Jack. I don't know if it's true or not. We'll find out more about that. What really interests me about what's going on in sports today is the quick, and we've talked about this a little bit, the quick and the absolute things that happen when somebody has a good game or a bad game, or if somebody's team wins or somebody loses. Smart supposedly came out and said, "I did my best." Jalen and God, I was going to bring Tatum got to maybe do better next year. Now here's a young kid coming into and as basically a role player this year. I mean, he did a great job.
He was a starter, Marcus Smart. Don't call him a role player.
Well, I'm talking about he was not part of the.
He was third wheel behind.
Right. But yet he's calling out the two leaders. He's calling out the two leaders of the Boston Celtics. Good move, bad move, Jack.
I'm going to tell you something. On the surface, it seems like a terrible move, but early in the year, people forget when the Celtics were struggling early in the year, Marcus Smart called out Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, saying they're not sharing the ball with their teammates. Their teammates aren't being involved because of the two of them. He basically said they were hogging the ball. And the Celtics were losing at that time. And the Celtics held team meetings. And they got it together. And right after that, the Celtics started winning. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe we look for leaders, Mac. usually as being the star player. And sometimes we think a guy can't be a leader if he's not a star player. You know, when the Miami Heat was struggling a bit early in the year, one of the players who didn't play, Haslam, he called out Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler got mad, and Haslam said, I'm going to punch you right in the face if you don't back off. You better listen, and you better listen to the coach. And Spoelstra turned to Butler, his son. He slammed his clipboard down and said, stop it, to Butler. He got mad. And then the Heat were getting it together afterwards. And this is a guy who wasn't playing who called out the star player. You want to know something? Sometimes star players need a little kick in the behind. But with that said, I think Marcus Smart, this was a big mistake this time. Brown and Tatum are obviously very upset losing in the NBA Finals. And to call them out when the season is over, that's not going to be helpful. If he called them out during the year when they can do something about it, I think both guys did the best they can, Tatum and Brown. They just didn't perform as good as Steph Curry and and Wiggins when at the bottom line at the end of the day in this series. It wasn't through lack of effort. The Celtics had been on a great run, and they just ran into a team that was a little better than them, a team that had been, for the most part, more cohesive than they were. And I think Marcus Smart was a little out of line this time around and didn't make himself any, new friends.
I agree. I think timing is everything. And if he said this maybe in the beginning of next year, maybe that would be better.
And let me tell you something. Didn't I notice Andrew Wiggins do a heck of a good job on Marcus Smart when they went one-on-one?
A couple times.
Yeah.
He did. Gronk is retiring. You believe it?
I think he'll come back. I think Gronk is a big, happy-go-lucky teddy bear that he'll come back. I'll say this. We can make an argument with Gronk at the top of his game. You can make an argument, not that I would agree that he was the greatest tight end in NFL history. I like Tony Gonzalez a little more.
No, there's a couple.
Right. Exactly. But I will say this about Gronk. I don't think there was a harder guy ever, tight end, even a receiver, once he had the ball in his hands to bring down. There wasn't a more physical tight end / receiver who, after they caught the ball, who showed more physicality than Gronk.
I don't
That's
know,
just my physicality.
I don't know. Bravaro and Shockey were pretty physical.
They were very physical. I don't think they had anything on Gronk.
No, well, Gronk did it better and longer.
Just like I could say a running back, Mac, there were a lot greater running backs than Brandon Jacobs. But if I'm going to say there was no one harder to bring down, you hand him the ball, okay? And we got to talk to Jeff Code about those type of players, Mac, because unlike you or I, especially me, Jeff Code tackled those type of guys.
Well, I'll tell you right now. I mean, you could make that argument, but Earl Campbell is the one you would have to live up to, and I don't think Jacobs lived up to Earl Campbell for as long.
Earl Campbell's a better running back, no dispute there. Earl Campbell
ran over people like they weren't even.
Marshall Lynch, okay, let's name maybe Marshall Lynch. We have a select few.
Yes.
Hard to bring down. You just hand them the ball. They're like absolute bulls.
Good point.
I mean, listen, it goes back in the day, the great Packer, linebacker Ray Nitschke. It was a nightmare to him, his teammates said, to go against the great Jim Brown, because bringing down Jim Brown was a nightmare.
Sure. So, I mean, there are a few that you can put in that discussion, but Brandon Jacobs,
Wiggins loved to punish linemen running at him. They're few. That
were very hard. I mean, but Brandon Jacobs you could put up in there, maybe in the top 10, at least. So he says he's going to retire. I don't believe it.
Let's see if they need a mid-season.
Brady
will be on the phone. We need you, man. Get down here, Gronk. And then he shows up one day.
Unless he's too injured, Jack. I mean, he was injured last year, too. He got injured last year for a few games. Maybe he's just tired of being hurt all the time. We'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting.
Well, let me throw this at you, Mac. The season starts. Some guys get shut off and be happy with their life, but some guys, they like the action. Sometimes they don't want to go through a grueling training camp. They hate the idea of training. Some guys hate the idea of training
not
camp.
Grueling anymore.
They hate it.
It's not grueling anymore. They don't hate each other. Come on.
No, a guy like Gronk could come in mid-season and learn the playbook pretty quickly for what he'll have to do. Just block for Brady, get open and catch the ball at times. And once you catch the ball, you know what to do with the ball. Okay?
We'll see, Jack.
Let's see whether he enjoys his life away from football.
Yeah, I think, well, like I said, he got hurt last year and he didn't show up for training camp either. So we'll see.
Let me tell you about Gronk.
Wait. No, we're gonna bring in Carter right now.
I just finishing my thought on Gronk to let you know. Gronk hasn't spent any of the money he's made from football. He lives off any endorsement deals he has. A very savvy businessman.
Yes, he is. And let me bring out the right one, because this would be funny if this was Byron Williams doing the hockey show, Jack. Right?
Listen, Byron knows basketball. He picked Golden State in 6.
Yes, he does.
So I wouldn't laugh about it, but I'd rather have Carter over Byron in hockey any day.
Any day. So let's bring him up. Our NHL analyst, Carter B. How you doing this morning, Carter?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, not too much.
Hey,
I mean, we've got some fireworks going over there in the Stanley Cup Championship. As you know, the Avalanche went up 3-1 in overtime. A great game. I don't know if Tampa Bay's really out of it or not, but it sure hurts their chances. And Carter, before you comment, I want to see if I can bring up the overtime score here with the game. Let me see if I can share this out to everybody. Let's try and see if we can do this so that we can take a look at it, and we'll get Carter's comments after we take a look at this.
Lightning with the change. Now they're going to be caught. Here comes Kadri shooting. It's in. And it's in, or is it? Where is it? Does Vasilevsky have it? No, it's in. It's in the back of the net. And yes, it is. A Nazem Kadri game-winning goal. And the Colorado Avalanche are on the cusp of the cup. What a sequence of events. As Vasilevsky just under siege made a couple of heroic saves, but here's the play, just pushing it to an area, goes right in, up and tucked underneath the bar there at the back. And Nazem Kadri, what an impact he has, comes in through, look at, put it to an area. Sergachev had been out there for 1:38. He was dead tired. He didn't have anything to the outside, so Kadri, that hand and all, that one slides up and tucks under. I don't even think Kadri knew initially. Lehkonen with the nice pass, nifty move underneath the arm and up and under the bar to give Colorado their third win.
So there you go, Carter. Pretty good play. I mean, he beat him. He supposedly had a bad arm and everything, but he was there and makes a nice shot on goal. What did you think about the play overall? Is this why the Avalanche are so good? They bring it down so fast on their passing, and they get to the net so quick. It's hard for another goalie to keep up with that speed.
Yeah, Colorado's been giving Tampa trouble with their speed all series long, and I mentioned it last episode. I think the Rangers gave them a lot of fits with that too, but Tampa was able to figure them out, but I think Colorado's talent's just too much for them. Guys like McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Makar, and now obviously Kadri in the overtime goal. It's proven to be too much for Tampa, and they're gonna have to play the best game of the season so far to keep themselves alive for a possible Game 6.
Guys, the big talk this morning isn't Colorado going up 3-1. It's how they went up 3-1. Okay, and that overtime goal. 6 players were on the ice, for Colorado when they scored. And it's not reviewable. by the league. And now I think they're probably going to institute a new rule where it could be reviewable going forward. They should have anticipated something like this could happen. And supposedly the sixth guy was skating for the bench. He was close enough to the bench. And even though it had no bearing on the play per se, it created a certain confusion with Tampa Bay. The whole thing. I mean, it was messy. I mean, why wasn't it just a rule? If six guys are physically on the ice, the goal shouldn't have been disallowed. I don't want to hear about intentions that someone is skating. He's a few feet from the bench within 5 feet. I mean, I just don't get it, Carter. Can you explain?
I mean, I think in the heat of the moment, the officials are just trying to watch over the entire play. I mean, I know there's 4 of them out there, but it's hard to call everything at every single time. There are going to be missed calls at certain points in the game, and it's unfortunate that this one happened to be in overtime of a pretty big game that turned out to go in Colorado's favor. But I don't really have any sympathy for them because they had too many men on the ice when they scored Game 7 against the Islanders. So I don't care.
I knew that. I knew you were going to say that.
Hope they get
It evens
absolutely
out in the long
torched in
run.
Game 5.
But it taints the way a game ends. That's the thing about it. I understand it evens out seasons, long run. It happened. They were beneficiaries against the Islanders. But still, I mean, the rule should be I don't like the rule. I'm not blaming the officials as much as the rule. I mean, physically, a sixth guy shouldn't be on the ice altogether. I don't want to hear he's within 5 feet, at the bench and he's about to get off. I just feel they should be like off the ice completely. That should be the measuring stick.
I don't really see it that way. I see it as if you're going to get off the ice, you happen to be on by a few feet and your team's got the puck. It is what it is. So, as long as you're not in your own zone, kind of possessing the puck for a few, for like more than a minute, and you have more than 5 guys on the ice, that's a different story. But I think at the end of the day, it is what it is. So we can agree to disagree, I guess.
Yeah, Carter. It's not like he's charging down the ice, right? Like they gotta account for the guy. They see him going off the ice. They know he's getting off the ice. So I mean, it's not like Tampa Bay is planning on playing this guy. I wouldn't think. But they see that, if he does charge on the ice, then of course they would get the penalty. So I don't see a big deal with it either. The quick rundown is that Avalanche win 3-2, 3-2. They were up. They came back in overtime to beat them. I mean, listen, the Tampa Bay Lightning is a great team, and to come back from 3-1. Like you said, they got to come back 3-2. That's going to take a lot out of them. So even if they do come back and get 3-2, I don't know if they can come back, and win 3 straight, Carter.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot, and the battle gets even more tough when you realize Colorado's only lost 3 in the entire Stanley Cup playoffs to date, and now you're going to have to beat them 3 times in a row just to continue the legacy of the three-peat. So. I'm not necessarily counting Tampa out just yet. They've proven that they've, come back from tougher situations before. So, if I'm Tampa, I'm just taking it one game at a time, one shift at a time, just, grinding away on Colorado, making it tough for them to get in the offense in the neutral zone. They did pretty, I think they did a pretty good job of that going into the third period, and Colorado managed to tie it early off a lucky, off a bit of a lucky bounce. So, I mean, I'm not counting Tampa out by any means. So we'll have to see what happens on Friday night in Game 5.
It'll be tough.
Well, after losing 7-0 in Game 2 at Colorado, it's a monster chore. I mean, they're gonna have to win 2 games in Colorado, not to mention, a game in Tampa. They have to win 3 in a row with 2 in Colorado. And if we forget the last 2 years, there's no evidence to show us that Tampa's actually a better team than Colorado.
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm not going to answer that. All right.
No, I don't know about that. I think Tampa Bay has a great team. I mean, I don't know, but
It's a long shot, 3 in a row. I mean,
oh,
I
no
know
doubt.
back.
No.
I think it's been like 80 years since a team came back from 3-1 in an NHL final. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, it's been.
Oh, it's
80.
tough. There's no doubt about it, Jack. It's going to be tough for them to come back and beat the Avalanche. I don't think they will, but I'm going to count them out either. Islander news. They're talking about. Well, should I get to the big news that I read this morning? Should I do that about Igor? You want to tell us about Igor Carter?
What, that he won the Vezina Trophy? Or
Yes.
They're the Rangers.
yeah.
That's
So
correct.
you know,
Absolutely.
Igor took home the Vezina Trophy the other day as the NHL's top goaltender, and you know, he deserves it this year. I think with the way that he's played, you know, this is statistically speaking one of the better goaltending seasons I think we've ever seen. You know, and I think personally, this is how I would judge the Vezina Trophy as well, but I don't think any other people see it this way. I kind of see the Vezina Trophy as being the most important goaltender to your team, if anything. And, you know, with Igor Shesterkin, with the way that he played this year, I don't see the Rangers being a playoff team without that. So, you know, I mean, that also explains why he was up for the Hart Trophy as league MVP as well. And, you know, it's unfortunate he didn't win that, but I think he arguably could have with the season that he had. So, yeah, it's you know, it's a pretty big deal for him to have the Vezina Trophy this year, and you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens because you know, I think the Rangers got big time performances out of him and guys like Chris Kreider, so we'll have to see if they can repeat that, or we'll see if maybe they fall off a little bit. I still expect them to make the playoffs, but you know, maybe not as the second seed in the Metro.
Yeah, like Austin Matthews won the MVP plus the Outstanding Player award. I wish a sport like baseball would adopt what hockey has, because sometimes you have in baseball a player winning an MVP award and his team might be in last place, but because his statistics is so much better than anyone else's, he gets the MVP. And how valuable could you be if your team finishes in last place? Do these awards in hockey, they don't take into account the whole playoffs. They're just regular season awards, right, Carter? I mean, shouldn't it take into account the playoffs? Because as great as Austin Matthews was, once again, Toronto didn't get by the first round of the playoffs.
It's just regular season awards. I think it should be just regular season awards. You know, there's no first round MVP trophy. There's no second round MVP trophy. It's the Conn Smythe is the MVP of the entire playoffs and the Stanley Cup. So after the regular season ends, those are the only two that you're thinking about.
I agree. That
Is there honor? Let me ask: is there honor in winning the Lady Byng Trophy in a game that's as rough and tough as hockey? The players kind of laugh at you. You won the award for being gentlemanly and polite. The Lady Byng Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think there is. It's you know, I think it's a big thing nowadays to have good sportsmanship, just to be you know, very lighthearted in the locker room and on the bench, and you know, it might not be as flashy as winning the, you know, the Art Ross for the most points, or, you know, the Hart Trophy as league MVP, but you know, I'm sure a lot of guys take it seriously, and a lot of them are you know, as humbled as they would be if they would have won the Hart Trophy.
I threw you off in the beginning saying it was Islander news, just so you could look at me like, what are you talking about? Let's really talk about Islander news now. They're talking the Canucks and the Islanders have a very good trade outlet with each other, that they could trade and better both their teams. Do you see that as a possible, you know, 2-3 player trade team that they could switch in and out with the Islanders, the Canucks, Carter?
I would need more context in order to properly say it. I don't know what players the Islanders would be looking at from the Canucks, but I guess if there's a certain piece that interests them, I guess I wouldn't count any trade out necessarily.
Yeah, I didn't get the names real quick. All I got was what they were talking, that the Canucks, much like the Islanders, had, you know, big hopes for this year, and they both kind of fell back a little bit. But if they had the right key players from each team, what these guys were saying, that they could improve both teams at the same time. So maybe it's the offense with the defense or whatever. I didn't see any players named at that article I read. They were just saying that would be a great trading partner for those teams. Two teams would be great trading offense for defense and stuff like that. So I'll look at that down the line. Listen, your farm team, the let me get this right. The Sea Dogs upset the Bulldogs to kick off the Memorial Cup. DeFore, I guess, is the big name out there. You pay attention to the Memorial Cup, Carter, and what does it really mean to the Islanders that their prospects down there pull up a first upset on the first day of this?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, this is the first year that I'm paying attention to it in a little while. But yeah, no, with the way William DeFore has been playing, he recently won the MVP in the QMJHL as a member of St. John, and you know, he's had just an outstanding regular season for them. The playoffs have been, if not just as good. So you know, I'm pulling for DeFore and St. John to win the Memorial Cup. It'd definitely be cool to see an Islander prospect win it all, especially after the you know, the regular season, you know, that he had this year.
Do you think somebody like that could get pulled right away, Carter? Say they win the Memorial Cup or they come close. DeFore has a big season. Do you see the Rangers pulling him up very short or very soon, or letting him stay down there maybe 1 or 2 more years?
I mean, it's all going to come down to how he does in Islander training camp, and I don't see him making the NHL right away. I could be wrong, but you know, they recently signed DeFore to an entry level contract. So if I had to guess, I think he starts the season in Bridgeport and you know, maybe get some playing time in the AHL to get used to the professional game, and then you know, we'll go from there.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. See, you know, I am a Ranger fan, but I like the Islanders. If you want to know the truth, I do follow them. New York teams. I know you guys got big, you know, big controversies and big, how should I say it? You guys are big rivals. But I love to see, well, all the teams do really good in the Northeast because, you know, when the Eastern Conference, with the great teams and the great history we have here, when one team steps up like the Flyers or the Devils or the Islanders or the Rangers, it makes hockey better. It really does. I don't care about Tampa, and I don't care about, you know, the LA Avalanche or the LA King. I don't care about them guys. I know when the East is strong, hockey is better, and that's why I love, you know, watching Northeast teams do better. And you know, good luck to the Flyers with their new coach. Good luck to the Jersey Devils with their young team. Good luck to the Islanders. I hope they make some moves that make them a little bit more better next year. And good luck to the Rangers. I hope they keep going. I love to see the rivals go. I love to see the Devils and the Rangers and the Islanders and, you know, and the Flyers go at it. It's great for hockey. It's great for the sport.
Were the Rangers as good, really, as they were up 2-0. They looked like they were going to go to the finals. Was it Shesterkin that carried them during the regular season? If he wasn't as great as he was, let's say he slides back just a little next year, and he's only good next year. He's not great next year. He's good. Is this Ranger team capable enough of making the same type of run with just good goaltending and not great goaltending?
No.
Expand a little on that, Carter.
I mean, he bailed them out of so many games they arguably shouldn't have made it out of the first round.
Mm.
So, you know,
that was awesome. That was awesome. Man.
Okay, got to the point. That's the answer. We're looking for a yes or no answer, and we got it.
That was awesome.
I agree with Carter because I know during the regular season, every game this guy was unbelievable. He cooled off a bit in the playoffs. On balance, he played well in the playoffs. He played well, but he wasn't quite as great in the playoff run as it during the regular season.
That was awesome, Carter. I love that analyst. I love that. No, just no. That's all. Carter, thank you for coming in, breaking down the hockey with us. I think we all think the Avalanche got this. because it's going to be a hard for the Lightning to come back. I wouldn't be shocked if they did. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if they came back and won this thing. But anyway, again, love having you on, Carter. Thanks for all you do with us on the show every Thursday, and enjoy your weekend, Carter.
All right, guys. You too. Appreciate it.
Take care. So there you go, Jack. Carter with the skinny on the hockey. And let me put it back to here, because when I do this, Jack, on Roku, it makes this look awesome, just to let you know. So we're big on Roku. So, folks, if you haven't subscribed or haven't downloaded Roku channel and you want to see us on the big screen, check us out. Just download the app if you haven't already. So we're going to take a quick break. Iceman said he's going to be here. He just messaged me. He's going to be. I know he wants to come in just to rub my nose in it anyway. But what host would
I saw Iceman, who's Arthur Better Beefs, one of his trainers, 2 days before the fight at the press conference, and I went over and I reminded him, Mac, that you were picking Joe Smith to win, but you did change your prediction from 2 rounds to 8. I wanted Scully to know that, and Scully said that's a tall order for Joe Smith to go all those rounds last with Arthur, but he took it. He took it the good way. He did take it the good way. I'm a little mad at Jason Gonzalez here, who I kind of mentor, because Jason, is a great reporter for the Louisville Courier-Journal. He heard a rumor that Jay Morant got traded yesterday, which is ludicrous. Why would the Grizzlies trade Jay Morant? And he wants confirmation from me. Why was he wasting my time on nonsense? That's like saying the Giants would have traded Willie Mays in his heyday. Just trade him. I mean, come on. Come on, Jay. You know better. Function, man. Function.
Yeah. All right, folks. Like I said, on either side, we have the Iceman, John Scully, who is really me and him are pretty close. And that's why I kind of root for him too. But he's going to come in and give me my what fors and what to do's and all that stuff. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be right back. Let me get to my official timeout. Here I am. Boom. Let me get to my brand. Let's see if I can do this. And let's start with this, Jack.
You worked too hard, you ate too much, the cheesecake made you greedy. Let your aching head and stomach hear this message from old Speedy. Alka-Seltzer, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is. Those Speedy bubbles relieve your upset stomach and headache fast. For acid indigestion alone, Alka-Seltzer Gold. Oh, what a relief it is. What a relief.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Yes! Wow, Tony, they're tough. You're next.
Don't worry, Ace. We've practiced. But first, let's start with a complete breakfast, including my Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. It helps bring out the tiger in you.
I hope your serve is good.
Good serve? Why, this serving's great!
Show them you're a tiger! Show them what you can do!
All yours, Tiger!
The taste of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Brings out the tiger in you.
And you.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
I'm Chiquita Banana, and I'm here to say I am the top banana in the world today. Now you know the best bananas in the land. So don't slip up with an inferior brand. When it says Chiquita, it's a very good day to buy bananas.
If you talk, they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's a first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, though, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're live on Roku, YouTube, and Facebook this morning. Other places, other times. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, Jack Hirsch. And we just heard from our NHL expert, Carter B. I don't say his last name because it's like Benavinga, and I say it wrong every time. So I just call him Carter B. And everybody knows who he is. He's outstanding in the hockey community. He's on a lot of different sites, a lot of different groups. So he knows what's going on all the time. He's studying Twitter accounts. He's normally over everything and gives you, the right names too, which I can't do, Jack, with these foreign names. Sometimes I just can't say them. I just abbreviate them, for God's sakes. So
you got a hard time saying the American names, Mac. Picking on the foreigner.
You're right.
I have a hard time too. I'm not one to talk.
Right.
When I speak of the Milwaukee Bucks, I always say Giannis because I know I'm going to mispronounce the last name.
Right.
It started out as the Greek freak, but it was easier to say Giannis. But listen, I can say LeBron James clearly, yet I just use the term LeBron too. So you try to get a little consistency as long as they know who you mean.
Right. So as long as hockey people know what I mean when I abbreviate them, say the great N or something, whatever. But anyways, so we got John will be coming up, like I said, about 9 o'clock. He doesn't come in early. If anything, he'll come in 5 minutes late. So we'll see where we get him. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some more news we didn't get to. Now, Antonio Brown, they asked, he wants to sign a one-day contract to retire from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they asked the head coach over there, would he actually consider him coming back? And it was just, are you out of your mind, is what he said. He has no problem with Antonio Brown coming back and sign. Well, the Steelers don't anyway. Signing one day, retire as a Steeler. But, I don't know if he'll really retire, Jack. I mean, this guy is so flaky. I could see him signing a one-day contract and trying to get back into the Steelers. I can see him retiring and coming back to another team if they offered him money. He likes the spotlight too much, Jack.
These one-day contracts are dumb. They're stupid. They shouldn't have even been talked about. I don't want to hear a guy comes back. He signs a one-day deal so he could retire with the team. You're not really retiring with the team. You retire with the team you really last played with. That's what you've basically done. I mean, I don't want to hear, I can understand if it's only a few games you left the team for. Like, people don't realize Yogi Berra played his whole career with the Yankees, except for the Mets. He played 4 games. He got up something like 9 times with the Mets at the end. I can understand after a few games elsewhere, you sign with your old team for 1 game because your body of work was so minuscule elsewhere. I can understand that. But Antonio Brown has a legacy elsewhere, in the sense that he was with the Buccaneers as a Super Bowl winner. He caught a touchdown in the Super Bowl. I don't want to hear none. Listen, if I'm the Steelers, I don't bother with him.
He played with Tampa Bay for 2 years, Jack. Come on.
But he left the Steelers on less than great terms. Okay?
Listen, I understand.
And why would they want him back? And you're right. He'll sign a 1-year deal and want to overstep his stay.
He's left a lot of teams in shambles wherever he's gone, Jack. That's just what Antonio Brown does. But, I mean, I could see him coming back to sign. That's where he played the majority of his games, Jack. And he is a great player. And I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers mind that much. But, listen.
You think they'd want to retire his number ever?
Yeah, they said they would. They're interested in doing that. That's what the Steelers said.
They said they might actually want to retire his number.
Yeah.
Okay, listen. First off, I don't want to hear it's so. I mean, that's the ultimate honor if they retire your number or they put you in the team Hall of Fame. I understand that, but what is the sense he retires as a Steeler? Does anyone remember that? Does anyone notice that? The player says, "Well, I'm retired." You're not really retiring with the team. I mean, what if Aaron Judge leaves the Yankees as a free agent and goes elsewhere, and let's say he plays for 3 other teams his career, but most of the years are with the Yankees, and he wants to come back at the end and retire as a Yankee? What happens to Robinson Cano? Robinson Cano is a bad example. He's all the way at the end of the line. What happens if Robinson Cano asks to retire as a Yankee? Should they sign him to a 1-day deal? No. Don't waste that time because you're not retiring as a Yankee. You played for them in the past. You did a great job in the past, but you're not retiring as a Yankee. It doesn't work that way. These 1-day retirement contracts are pure nonsense.
I don't necessarily agree with that at all, Jack. You see Frank Gore retiring with the 49ers. That's where he did most of his damage. That's what he's best known for. He comes back with a 1-day deal to retire as a San Francisco 49er. I think that's just right. And I think
why didn't the Niners hold on to him? Or why didn't he stay with the Niners? If you want to retire with the team, you stay with the team, and the team wants to keep you.
Please, Jack. That's crazy with today's NFL. It's hard to stay with one team. They cut you. They trade you. I mean, you have a chance to go. That's the way it is.
I'm going to leave the Mac and Jack show to get a much better offer, in my view. I'm not happy with you. I'm going to want to go elsewhere. I'm going to, work for another, media outlet. But then when I decide I don't want to do this anymore, Mac, I'm going to contact you. I'm going to want to sign a 1-show deal so I could retire as a Mac and Jack show guy. You're going to sign me to a 1-show deal? You'll tell me you won't even pick the phone up and talk to me, Mac, if I call with that. You're not going to sign me to a 1-show deal.
Well, as long as I ain't got to pay you, I would.
Yeah, I mean, 1 show deal so I could retire, and they'll ask me, where did you retire from? I retired from the Mac and Jack show. That's nonsense. I would have been elsewhere.
Well, hey, listen, I mean, this to me, Jack, if you spend the most of your career, I would be surprised if Tom Brady didn't retire as a New England Patriot. I would be. I'd be shocked.
If you're playing a game, if you're at least playing a game, at least one game as a football player, you take the field I can understand it, but to just sign a one-day deal, the guy doesn't even show up at the office that day, doesn't show up and work out with the team. You're just signing a piece of paper. It's nonsense.
Jack. Backstage.
It's like signing a marriage certificate and you never saw the woman before.
Hey, listen,
it's nonsense.
No, that's not true. That's a bad example, because if you lived your life with 10 years with a woman and you wanted to retire her as your wife, I guess you could do that. Iceman John Scully joins us backstage. He's going to give me the business, which I don't mind. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, Iceman is a great guest. I think of him as a friend, title contender, world title contender, trainer of 4 different champions, Golden Glove multi-winner, and
you never give Iceman credit for fighting for a version of the world light heavyweight title. You always tried to diminish him by saying he was just a Golden Glove. You never call him former light heavyweight contender.
What did I just say?
Golden Glove boxer.
What did I just say?
Which is honorable, which is big.
Jack, what did I just say? What did I just say in my opening thing? World title contender. Did I not?
You did say it this time. I'm not used to saying. Okay, went over my head, Mac.
All
I'm
right.
Still a little steam from the previous.
But let me ask you something before Iceman comes in. What host would bring in a guest that he knows he's going to get the business from? Well, I would, because
I'm there to shield you, Mac, from any abuse that John gives, because you have some valid points. Mac was John. I saw you 2 days before, if you recall, at the press conference as you were leaving. And I told you that Mac had changed his prediction from Joe Smith winning in 2 rounds to Joe Smith winning in 8. And you said, wow, that's really hard to last that amount of time with Arda Beterbiev. Well, Mac just feels that Joe Smith never really got going, that had he had a chance to get going and execute his fight, it may have been different.
Don't let him put words in my mouth. Go ahead.
Listen, had he got going, I mean, he would be in the morgue. What are you talking about? Like, come on.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I covered the fight for Boxing News. You get it. I don't know whether you read my report. The thing that disappointed me with Joe Smith in the fight wasn't a performance. Beterbiev was great. Beterbiev was sensational. I think he's far and away the best light heavyweight in the world. I don't even think Dimitri Bivol poses a serious challenge, even though people want to see that fight. It's not going to happen because of promotional differences. Maybe down the road, but it's not an easy thing. But Joe, I know how hard Beterbiev hits. I'm aware of that. You don't have to remind me. But sometimes a fighter's punch resistance suddenly goes. If Joe Smith had anything going for him, and Beterbiev was better in all categories, you would think he has to be able to take a better shot than that. And that's what kind of disappointed me. Not at Joe Smith, that he didn't take a better whack.
I mean, hey, listen, when you dealing with that kind of power, everybody's chin resistance is lowered. You fight Julian Jackson. I mean, Julian Jackson knocked out guys that other people didn't knock out. Ernie Shavers, George Foreman. Some guys have abnormal power. Arthur's that guy, and
not quite on the level of the guys you mentioned. Maybe you could say close, but not quite on the Julian Jackson one punch level.
Yeah, but I'm saying he hits you and you're hurt, And I tried to tell this guy for 2 years. I said, listen, I don't know what when this guy here in the glasses was telling me originally that Joe was going to do this and that, I thought he was joking. I didn't realize he was serious. I thought he was kidding. And,
he wasn't kidding. He meant it.
No, that's the amusing part. That's what I realized. I said, wow, he really believes this. And so I said,
John, come on, John. You know Joe Smith. You know Joe Smith has got a great punch. You know him very well. You know
I told you the first time I ever talked to you in my life, and you mentioned Joe Smith, I went, no. Like, no, there's no chance.
Well, I got a little. Maybe I shouldn't say, but Mac. Yeah, no, Mac is friendly with the Smith camp, and Joe DeGuardia, Smith's promoter, basically said, you know, they're not condemning the referee. They respect him doing his job, but the fight should have been allowed to go on. You know,
listen.
One punch power that could turn it around.
Listen, if you let that fight go, Joe Smith would have gotten killed. Are you guys crazy? I mean, what more do you need to see? This guy would have gotten permanently hurt if they let that go. I mean, listen, we're going to let the referees handle it, and you guys handle radio on Thursdays. Okay,
Right.
Let
Well,
them handle
the refs, John. To be honest, the refs do sometimes stop it before it shouldn't stop.
Listen, man,
that should have been stopped, no doubt. There's no doubt.
But Mac, you said that the time it was stopped, you had a little doubt at the moment.
Not at all.
Can you tell
Not
me
at
that?
all. Not at all. I had no doubt that should have been stopped.
Right, of course.
Let me ask you about the first round. Artur did something he's never done. I watched all his fights. He stayed out of reach from Joe Smith. And Joe Smith was scoring with that jab, but he wasn't really hurting him. I mean, he was scoring. In fact, I think Joe Smith might have won the first round just by the jabs and Artur not.
I got knocked down at the end of the first round.
Right. Well, let's say with a knockdown at the end of the round that maybe it was even. Maybe Better Beef had a 1-point lead, but it was close. Was that part of your guys' plan? Because he's never done that before. He's kind of stepping back, trying to feel him out a little bit, looking at them long punches that he had so he could step inside.
Right, of course. I mean, it's a 12-round fight, you know, and you have to take your time, and you don't, you know, that's if it was a 3-round fight, it would have been different, but it's 12. But the thing is, you know, we pay attention to everything. We pay attention to details. We pay attention to, and me personally, I pay attention to everything that the opponent says in the weeks coming to the fight. Every indication of strategy, you know, we extract from a conversation. And it was very clear from what Joe was saying, and especially his trainer, and I could tell by his trainer was kind of, I don't know what the word is. You know, he was cocky. Like he was kind of, you know, and I noticed it just talking and, you know, seeing him talk at the glove, you know, when we're checking the gloves before the fight and different, he was cocky. And I knew we were going to use that against them. So Joe thought that it was going to be World War III. It was going to be Gatti Ward, Hagler Hearns from the first round.
Right,
so, and we were saying before the fight, like, this guy's going to be so angry or so tense because he's going to want to get into a firefight immediately. And Artur's not going to do that. Artur's going to let him walk into some stuff. You know, that's what boxing is. Boxing isn't you punch and I punch and you punch and I punch. You know, it's you punch and I move away and I let you get comfortable and let you get aggressive. And then I punch and I run you into something. So Artur fought a very good fight, a very scientific fight. And, you know, but his power is phenomenal. And there's no way they could let that fight go.
No, of course not. I picked Better Beef to win in 7 rounds, but I thought it was going to be a tough fight early on, that Joe Smith would be able to take punches, make Artur work, maybe get him against the ropes now and then, maybe bully him a little bit at times and back and forth. But I thought Better Beef would grind him down in 7 rounds. And I was way off. What I noticed about this fight, Better Beef was masterful the way he boxed the first round, very patient. Yeah. And after he knocked Smith down at the end of the first round with the right hand, I don't want to use the word turning point because I think if they met 50 times, Artur beats him decisively every time. So I don't want to use the word turning point. But I noticed the beginning of the second round, Better Beef was up off his stool very early, and it wasn't a head game. He had made up his mind, okay, I boxed. I don't have patience to box anymore. Let me just get rid of this guy. I'm so much better than him. You know, that's the feeling I got. And I said to myself, Smith isn't going to make it out of the second round because Better Beef was so focused on ending it in round 2, which in a certain small way gave Smith his only chance because Better Beef was going to come at him to just get it over with. But the talent level was astonishing. And this was a guy, Joe Smith, who went the full 12 rounds with Dimitri Bivol and hurt Bivol at one point with a big right hand.
Yeah.
So the comparison game, it's hard to pick Bivol to see how he could be Better Beef, but a lot of people actually might do it based on the Canelo fight.
Right. But, you know, the thing is this. Canelo is literally like a little person next to Arthur. Like if they were to fight, you would be amazed how big Arthur is compared to Canelo. So, you know, there's a reason why Canelo moved up twice to light heavyweight and didn't pick Arthur to fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you know, he's no dummy. They're very calculated with what they do. But Arthur's very smart. He doesn't get credit. Maybe he will now, but he doesn't get credit for being very smart, you know, but he is. He's a very, very intelligent boxer. And, but he's also a savage. He's also, you know, a beast. And he could sense at the end of the round that the end was near and he wanted to just get out there and get it done as soon as he could.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a little bit about the training. Now, Arthur spars a lot, right? He goes through and he picks out, you guys pick out certain fighters for him. Joe Smith doesn't train with anybody. He stays in his room, and he trains with his trainer. Now, I don't understand that. I mean, how can you get a perspective on somebody if you're just going to not train with, not spar anybody? I don't know why he does that. Why would a trainer have a boxer not go up against anybody before any fight? That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, no, Joe spars. I know guys who spar with him.
Well, they were showing a special of him just by himself in the gym, nobody around him. And it was just,
you know, they want to present an image. You know, when you do a TV show like that, it's to present an image of the guy. But no, Joe spars with people. I know a guy who goes and spars with him quite a bit. Okay. So yeah, he boxes but listen, it was you're not gonna win a firefight with Beterbiev. Like he lives for that. You know, like that's his dream, is for you to come and want to throw punches at him so he can hit you back. And I'll tell you what kind of guy he is. And I put the link up Tuesday morning at 7:00. He was in the gym in Montreal training like a madman. There's video of him Tuesday morning, 7:00. He's hitting a tire with sledgehammers.
I saw.
Like he usually, like the fights in next week. And you know, nobody, you know, even Holyfield and guys that they weren't in the gym 2 days after the biggest fights, working out at 7 a.m. Like
he fights Anthony Yarde probably in October in his next fight. Anthony Yarde, a decent fighter. Look, he lost to Kovalev in an exciting fight, you know, and he lost another fight after that. I mean, a good, solid fight. I guess the only thing he has going for him, the fight's going to be in the UK, right? In Yarde's home country. He's going to have the crowd behind him. I don't want to use the word wasted time. It's not that it's not a credible fight. Better Beef should win big, stop Yarde. You know, I don't know how many rounds that'll have to analyze later on. But I mentioned to you in the past show, John, and you just put down the idea, Better Beef is going to have to move up in weight. Why not move? How many pounds can he put on to move up to heavyweight? Now, I wouldn't want to see him in with Tyson Fury. He's a little too massive. But the smaller heavyweights, I think he could compete very well with.
Well, I mean, the thing is, he makes light heavyweight without a lot of trouble. Like he you know, he's like, when you see him at the weigh-in and in the fights, he doesn't have to suck weight. He doesn't look bad and drained. I don't, you know, we've never talked about moving up at all. Like he could, you know, I can't see it for now. He's a
Well,
light
Jason
heavy.
Gonzalez, where John puts down, he better be this 37, and that's a concern of his. Fighters do get old at certain points, and he's 37 now. At what point do you start thinking, wow, he's getting a little older? We might have to deal with that issue.
I haven't seen it yet. His training, guys he spars with, nobody's saying he feels old. And like I say, 2 days after this fight, he's in the gym at 7 a.m. That desire is still there. And you have to understand. Let me say one thing.
Go ahead.
You have to understand about part of growing old as a fighter has to do with how you live your life, right? Now, that's why Bernard Hopkins was able to fight as a champion at 49, because he was a clean living guy. Now, Arthur is when I say devout Muslim, I mean devout. Like, this man has never been inside of a nightclub in his life. He doesn't know what it looks like in there. I pulled up to the gym about 2 weeks ago, and he was already there, and he was over by a tree near the gym outside across the street from the gym. And I'm, man, what's he doing? He's looking at the tree. I thought there was a squirrel in the tree or something he's looking at. And I realized he was praying. And then at one point he took a mat out and he put it on the ground, and he got down on the ground and he did his prayers in front of this tree right across the street from the gym, in front of, everybody that's driving by. So this is a focused individual, and him being who he is at 37 doesn't surprise me at all, because he has no vices or bad habits or anything. So I'm sure when he's 40, he's going to still be as awesome as he is right now.
And some fighters do get better as they get old. Look at George Foreman. Look at some of the other fighters that are dangerous when they got older. It really doesn't matter. The skill, to me, that Better Beef has and the power he has may fade off a little bit here and there as he gets older, but it's not going to affect him like he's not going to be able to knock somebody out and then he's going to lose his skill. So I think he'll be fine into his early 40s, John. I really do.
Oh, like I say, I watched him in this training camp sparring with these guys, and good fighters he's in with. Like, he's in with very good opposition in the gym. And at no time did him being 37 even cross my mind. Never was an issue.
John, we know fighters who lose fights, especially in decisive fashion. You know it as a former fighter. I'm sure you had your share of excuses. You rationalized why you lost. It's hard to accept, well, someone's just better than me. You never want to think that way. There's always an excuse. But Joe Smith, they're probably thinking, well, it was an equilibrium punch that hit him in the side of the head and the temple and screwed up his equilibrium, and that was the whole thing. They tried to make it out to be a little flukish. What can a Joe Smith take away from a fight like this if he's going to continue his career? Because that was a very ugly loss. How do you regroup from that if you're Joe Smith?
Well, it's hard because, you were overpowered by another man. So he's never going to beat Arthur Beterbiev, period. So this is an era where it's good for people that there's more than one title to go after in general terms, because if you can't beat the top guy, maybe you can beat the second guy or the third guy or the fourth guy. But by the same token, Arthur's goal in life has always been to be undisputed. That's what he wants. He wants all the belts, and he wants to defend all the belts. He wants to be the only light heavyweight champion. So, so some guys might
it's
just
nonsense. You especially know as well as anyone, undisputed is nonsense, because if he did win all the belts, he's going to be stripped of one of them weeks late at least. So what's the point?
But we know who the undisputed one is. It doesn't matter. They can strip him or not. It was a great question from Jack to you, because listen, Muhammad Ali, you can go to Thomas Hearns. There's a lot of fighters that were knocked out in the first couple rounds and they came back.
Well, not Ali.
Not early, but you know what I'm saying. He's had some bad fights too. that he lost, and so is Tyson. And they've come back and they've shown themselves pretty well. I think Joe Smith, depends how much he wants it, John. If he really wants to continue, I think he can. I think he could come back and fight well. He's just got to, I guess he's got to reteach himself how to box a little bit better. He's got to, come away from that looping right that knocks people out. He's got to learn how to maybe be more compact. I don't know if he can do that or not, but I hope he comes back because I really like the guy. I think he's a really great guy. He's humble for the most part. And I think he's got a lot of fight left in him. But like you say, I mean, this has got to be a big decision for him.
Yeah, like I say, I mean, you never know what a guy's thinking, what the loss will do to a guy. Once that, it's one thing to lose decisions, but to get stopped in that fashion, especially if you never thought it could happen, some guys may never be the same psychologically. So, it remains to be seen. We have to see how he rebounds. But I just got to worry about Arthur.
John, you talked about strategy, and you guys nailed it. Like you knew Joe Smith was going to come out and try to turn it into an all-out, wide open fight, go for knockouts right off the bat. What happens if Joe Smith surprised the heck out of you guys and he just backed off and circled and boxed? Mentally, was Arthur set for that plan B, plan C, plan D, saying, what's this guy doing after all his big talk? He's backing away and circling the ring. Would Arthur have chased him? Would he have been extremely cautious that opening round or what?
Well, we try to plan for more than one scenario. But, and I said this, to whoever. We did an interview a couple days before the fight, and I said, that's very unlikely because there's no chance that Joe Smith could outbox Arthur. He could stay on the outside, but he couldn't do it expertly. He couldn't do it fluidly. He wouldn't be able to dissect Arthur from the outside. So I really didn't worry about that because I knew that he knew he couldn't outbox Arthur. His chance, and to his credit, I mean, I'll say this. I give Joe credit because he knew. He got hit early. He caught the shot, and he was still trying to land the bomb. He was still trying to do what he does and land it. So I give Joe Smith all the credit in the world. He didn't punk up at all. He fought like a man, and I have to shout him out for that.
That's excellent, John. So I mean, I was wrong. I admit when I'm wrong, and I've watched Arthur, but I'm telling you right now, I'm always rooting for you. Because you're a friend of the show.
Wait. Scully was very interested what I had to say temporarily. He was leaving the press conference with the Better Beef camp when I called him. And then he recognized when I told John that Mac has changed his prediction. And John was interested. I said he no longer thinks Joe Smith is winning in 2 rounds. And John was listening intently. And I said he's picking him in 8. Yeah. And then John, what was your reaction when I told you, John, what Mac was predicting?
I said, there's no way he's going 8. The last 8 rounds of banging with Arthur is, that's a big question mark there.
John did say that.
One last question for you before we let you go, John.
Arthur
better be if he's broken the top 10 as pound for pound boxer in the world. Even Arthur said, I don't deserve this because there's many people with a bigger work. So the guy is humble to a point of whatever. I don't think he even cares about stuff like that.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. He was talking about it the other day, and he didn't really, to be honest, he didn't really understand the concept of pound for pound. He didn't know what, he didn't know exactly what it meant. We're trying to explain it to him and it didn't make sense to him. So I don't think he cares. The only thing I've ever heard him talk about is being undisputed.
Right.
That's what he considers the benchmark.
I'm going to tell you something. You mentioned body language. I noticed at the press conference, Joe Smith wasn't the same. Normally, he looks at a guy in a very intimidating way and tries to get inside his head. he seemed to be just thrilled to be there, like fighting a big fight in his hometown. Artur Beterbiev was a gentleman, but he seemed bored with the whole thing, just sitting there because he had to be there, get it over with. He was going to be polite to everyone involved, not say anything, badmouth anyone. But I noticed the difference. One guy was there because he had to be there, just wanted to take care of business, and the other guy was just thrilled to be part of the event.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the kind of thing that you look for. You know, as a trainer with a team, you try to look for little chinks in the armor and mentality and all these type of things, and you bring it back with you, and then you figure out what you can use. I didn't pay much attention to that aspect of it. The big thing that I took away, like I said earlier, it was very clear that Joe thought it was going to be war from the opening bell. He was almost like reveling in it, he was almost amazed, like, man, it's going to be war. It's going to be war. And I'm like, okay, but it's not going to be war like you think. And I think that's where we had an advantage. We choreographed the war as opposed to just jumping in head first to it.
But he came to fight Joe Smith. We give him credit. He,
for sure.
Took a shot. He didn't freeze in the moment. He just got caught by a superior fighter. That's all it was.
Listen, you can't deny that Beterbiev just dominated Joe Smith from the end of the first round on, and Joe just kept coming forward, which I give him credit for too. But Beterbiev just jumped inside and just laid it on him. And great training on your guys' part. Great strategy, John. And that's why you're where you're at. That's why you're on that team. They know you know what you're doing. So congratulations to you and to Artur. Tell him I say congratulations. And I look forward to seeing him fight again, John.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Take care, John.
Okay, John. You have a great weekend, my friend.
All right, guys. Be good.
So there you go, folks. The great.
It kind of let you off a little easy, Mac. He could have stuck it to you a lot more, But you were having picked Joe Smith to win the fight. But listen, Joe Smith showed a lot of heart. We're not degrading him in any way, shape, or form. It's just a question. He was in with a superior fight and not a
no doubt. And like I said, he would have to change his style, Jack. Maybe he needs a new trainer.
No, his trainer's fine. Joe Smith has good people surrounding him. It's just a question of a better fighter. We can make all these.
Jack, what I'm saying is he's got to learn to bring in them punches and be more compact. I mean, these looping ones catch people. There's no doubt about it. But he's got to learn to come inside because, if you get another fighter like Beterbiev, he's gonna rip him up. That long right, you can just jump inside of. He had a nice jab going, but he didn't set up with a compact punch. I think if he set it up with a compact punch, he would have done a lot better. And I think that's what Joe Smith has got to learn to do. If he learns to do that, I see him making a good comeback because he's got power. But he's got to learn to bring it inside more. And I think that's what he's got. If he can do that, Jack, I think Joe Smith will be great coming back if he comes back. That long looping right against a better skilled, powerful guy is
I think it's more how you come back mentally from a defeat like this. I think that's the key thing about
True. I agree. I agree with that too, Jack. I agree with that a lot. Folks, we've got to take our last break for today. We'll be back on the other side. Me and Jack will break down the MLB, which is fascinating right now, what some teams are doing and what some teams are not doing. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. We'll be right back after these messages.
When the job is done, this guy'll be ready to dig into something mighty good to eat.
How do you handle a hungry man? The manhandlers.
One of the manhandlers is Campbell's Vegetable Beef. Gets a man-sized supper off to a good hot start. Good.
The manhandlers.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211-INFO-LINE. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
I heard you want to be a Frito Bandito like me. You do? Then you must sing the Bandito song. Let's sing together. You just follow the bouncing Fritos corn chips bag. Ay, 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 ay. I am the Frito Bandito. Hey, I like Fritos corn chips. I love them, I do. I want Fritos corn chips. I'll get them from you. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, I am the Frito Bandito. Give me Fritos corn chips and I'll be your friend. The Frito Bandito, you must not offend. Now, boys and girls, you are Frito Banditos too. You sing the Frito Bandito song, and you loco for crunchy Fritos corn chips. That's nice. Munch, munch, munchy bunchy Fritos corn chips.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just...
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready. I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, I'm from Brooklyn. Hey, isn't he?
The Hometown Foundation is excited to bring back the Dream Ride experience, August 26th to the 28th at Connecticut's Farmington Polo Club. Join us in celebrating the accomplishments of our Dream Riders while enjoying live music, a car and motorcycle show, family fun zone, pet adoptions, canine demonstrations, the Fireman's Chili Cook-Off, and much, much more. Get your tickets today.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're ready to do our last segment where me and Jack break down, a lot of sports news, especially the MLB we'll be covering, and it's part of the thing. But we just had Iceman John Scully on, unbelievable boxing trainer, great fighter. I mean, he knows the in and outs, and that's why he's with them, Jack. I mean, that's why he's with the Better Beef team. They know he knows what he's doing, and I guarantee you, he had a lot to do with that strategy with Better Beef the first round. It was amazing to watch Better Beef actually back away.
Yeah, Better Beef fought. Such a smart, calculated fight. Part of it too, when you order Better Beef, you thought of as being a beast. The way you come at an opponent, the way you grind them down. It's like putting your ego on the shelf. He allowed Joe Smith to take control of the ring while he basically sized him up the first round, saying, okay, you want to come at me, you want to turn this into a so-called war, go all out. I'm going to box you. I'm going to see what you have, and then I'm going to go to work later on.
And I mean, the jabs didn't hurt him at all. I mean, he scored with them jabs, like I said, he did in the beginning of the fight.
I don't think Smith was scoring with punches in reality.
Well, when I watched
yeah.
from when I watched, Jack, and we watched the fight, I mean, he was getting him with some left jabs, was getting through the gloves and was scoring on him. But Better Beef really didn't have any effect on him anyway. He just let him.
I kind of wonder if Better Beef didn't catch Joe Smith with that right to knock him down in the first round. At the end of the first round, how much longer would he have continued to box? Maybe we should have asked John that. Maybe 2-3 rounds more before he would have started attacking very hard himself. But when he hurt Joe Smith at the end of the first round, that gave Better Beef the confidence. You know, he's very hittable, Joe Smith. He was thinking, I'm going to go to work now. I don't have to box. I already boxed the one round.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you 100%, Jack. And it was just a great job of training.
Great performance by Better Beef.
Oh, it was incredible.
Awesome performance.
So let me see if I can get to my standings. I think it's on the other page. Let me check it out real quick. Very interesting with the standings. Yeah, I got it on the other page, Jack. So
one of the standings not interesting, Mac. Every year, every season, every sport, you get close to mid-season. The standings always interesting. It's never completely the way you think it's going to turn out.
No, it's not. Let's start with the AL East, Jack. The Yankees are 51-18. The Blue Jays are 39-30. Boston sneaks into third at 39-31, and the Rays drop back to 37-32. Cleveland in the Central right now is ahead 36 and 28 ahead of Minnesota by one game. That's 38-52. The Astros are the only above 500 team at 43-25. The Mets 45-26, still leading the Braves by 5 games. The Phillies, though, have climbed into the race here at 36. It looks like 31. In the Central, St. Louis is doing their thing, Jack. They're 40-31, one game ahead of the Brewers. The West, you got the Dodgers and San Diego's in a virtual tie, and San Fran at 38-30. Real quick, Jack, before we get into the scores, the Yankees are now beating the before they were talking about they were just beating the Orioles and they were just beating this team and just beating that team. Now they're taking it to the division rivals, and they're knocking them down a few more games. I mean, Judge goes, I think he has 2 home runs yesterday. The pitching has been outstanding. What do you think, Jack? Is this sustainable?
If I went away before the season began, right before, and I had no access to the standings until this morning, and I all of a sudden opened it up and I looked where the teams were, the only team in which I would have been completely flabbergasted with were the New York Yankees. In my wildest dreams, I never could have thought they would be this great the way they've been to this point in the season. And you just wonder, can they keep it up, and so on. And I mean, everything, they've been getting the big hits, great starting pitching. The bullpen has been superb. I mean, and it seems like someone is stepping up each night. Last night was Trevino, 2-run homer to win it for the Yankees. Judge makes out in a big situation with the bases loaded, but hits a couple of home runs otherwise. And it's so far magical run for the Yankees. I mean, I keep waiting for it to stop, but it's continuing. And the season still, in all fairness, has a long way to go because the Yankees have played 69 games. And when you get to 81 games, that's really the halfway point. So they're still a little before the halfway point. But just the idea, they have a 12-game lead over the Blue Jays. If we look at other teams like in the AL East, Mac, very quietly, the Red Sox have gotten into playoff position very quietly. So maybe their slow start, where we were ready to dismiss them, could be a lesson to some teams on the top rung of the standings in their division, that if you slip just a little bit, there are other teams that we didn't think much of early in the year. They could start winning, and when all's said and done, teams that we thought would be a lock for the playoffs wouldn't make it, and teams that we thought absolutely had no chance of making the playoffs and now making a serious run at it.
Well, I never counted Boston out. I just said that it would be hard for them to replicate how well they played last year because of the starting
They
pitching.
kind of counted them out a little bit, Mac. Let's be honest about
I
it.
said they make the playoffs. In fact, I think all the teams besides Baltimore would make the playoffs at the end of the year. So
even Baltimore's improved. They're 8 games under 500.
Baltimore is no
only
joke.
6.5 games behind
No
Tampa
joke.
Bay.
No joke, man. That team is no joke. So let's look at the games. The Blue Jays did beat the White Sox 9-5. The Astros beat the Mets 5-3. Texas, San Diego beats Arizona 10-4. The Marlins beat the Rockies 7-4. The Dodgers beat the Reds 8-4. The Cubs 2 touchdowns and 2 extra points over Pittsburgh, who scored 5. Baltimore, with a touchdown and field goal, beat the Nationals 7-0. The Yankees get by the Rays 5-4, as we said. Boston got rid of Detroit 6-2. Atlanta beats San Francisco 4-3. Cleveland and Minnesota in a tightly defensive game. Cleveland beats Minnesota 11-10. St. Louis
Cleveland rallied late in the game to pull that one out.
Yes, they did. St. Louis beats Milwaukee 5-4. Seattle over the A's. The A's this year, Jack, I don't know if they're going to be able to do anything. Seattle beats them 9-0. And the Angels beat KC, as we said, with Ohtani pitching 13 strikeouts. They beat KC 5-0.
So, now, caught up with the A's, their method, the Oakland A's, a money ball. You trade off your more established players, get, good prospects, and keep the merry-go-round going and keep contending. It finally, caught up to them this year. They got it going, a full rebuild. But I'm most disappointed in the Seattle Mariners. I mean, they haven't made the playoffs in 20 years or so. And this was supposed to be their year. They came close last year. And rather than take that one little gentle step forward and finally get the playoff berth, they've slid backwards. I mean, they're 8 games under 500. And, of course, the season's not over. But, they're only 3 games out of second place in that division. But that would do it in the playoffs.
Jack, they're not playing like they're capable of playing. That's
no, not at all. And Jared Keselnik, that guy they traded, the Edwin Diaz, Robinson Cano deal. People are saying what a terrible deal that was for the Mets. Turned out to be a good deal for the Mets. Edwin Diaz is entrenched as the Met closer all along, and they're getting the good production out of him. And, and it just, you never know with deals for prospects.
Well, listen to the start spreading the news. As I told you, they're thinking they're going to pick up a couple more relievers so that they can give the Yankees starting pitchers some relaxation when they, come in at the end of the year, so they can keep their arms good, and they can pretty much set their rotation is what they're hoping for anyway. They did bring up a young pitcher. I don't have his name in front of me, I don't think, but he got beat up his first time, but since then has a 0.00 ERA. He's a young kid, and it seems like that pitching coach they picked up, Jack, is the answer to all this. I mean, he was down in the minor leagues when the Yankees had a great minor league pitching staff that a lot of people picked a lot of their pitchers out of there. But he had that pitching staff in the minor league, the best in the league. And now he moves up, bringing the same methods with him, teaching him that one extra pitch. Go and say, you got to learn this one extra pitch, how to throw it right, and you'll be dominant, as he did, with Nasty Nestor, and he's done with Clay Holmes. He's taught them that one pitch that they didn't have last year that makes them unbelievable, the different angles and all that stuff that they do. He teaches them this stuff, and you got to give him credit, man. That pitching coach has turned this Yankee staff, starters and relievers, 100% around, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees, absolutely, the pitching staff has exceeded expectations. I mean, Nestor Cortez is a Cy Young, strong Cy Young candidate. And he had a good year last year, though. You shouldn't forget that. So,
well, he had a good year. He had a good year.
A good year last year. And it wasn't, we would have just settled for him to be close to what he was last year, not to exceed it the way he did. Clay Holmes has really stepped up, especially in Chapman's absence. And, I heard Tua Chapman coming back. Chapman's now saying, look, the pitching staff has gone well. He'll accept any role he's given coming back, which is good to hear. It's the right thing to hear.
Well,
And Chapman, I think Chapman knows if he has to split closing duties, he's going to do it. Because I think if Chapman rants and raves, it'll just.
He's scared of getting traded. He's scared of getting traded. I would be scared of getting traded. The Yankees still need outfield help. And for Chapman, you could get a lot of outfield help and probably another.
You can't have it both ways, Mac. You can't say, well, they said on Start Spreading the News, the Yankees could use another reliever too, and then trade one of their really primary.
Well, they also need another. They also need another decent outfielder, especially since that their outfield isn't as strong as it could be.
Well, I got a guy who could audition this year if he's healthy enough. A forgotten man, Michael Conforto.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Conforto, we talk about free agency. He was offered a 6-year deal for the Mets, $120 million, $20 million a year. Very fair offer, but in his agent is Scott Boras. They thought Conforto could do better on the free agent market, maybe get $28 million a year for 7-8 years. So they didn't go the conservative route for the $120 million. And now Conforto with his injury, who knows what he might ever get back to. And that's an awful lot of money lost to bypass.
No doubt. Well, we'll see what happens. I know they need outfield help. The relievers, they say, is pretty easy to pick up good relievers that can give you a couple good innings. They may use Clay Holmes as a starter if they have to. I mean, there's a lot of options. See, that's the great thing.
They have them now. Their bullpen, they have the numbers there now.
They say just for the end of the year, they can get them on a cheap jack. So I understand what they're saying. But right now, the Yankees can be patient. That's the great thing because their bench is playing well. I mean, you can rotate people in and out of that lineup right now and not get hurt. In fact, as you said, that catcher's turning into not just a defensive Gold Glover, but an offense. Yeah. I mean, come on. I mean, who expected that? So
but the year it still has a while to go, Mac.
I agree.
I'd hate to be so pessimistic, especially with the Yankees' historic start. I mean, I just don't see this continuing. There are just too many holes there. I can't believe all of a sudden Trevino, there's an all-star caliber player. I kind of have to feel it'll come down to earth. I don't think Josh Donaldson is going to regain his old form. Gallo, I don't see Gallo suddenly changing. Aaron Hicks has been playing better lately. Okay, he's been playing better. Listen, I know you can point out, well, he's hitting 232. But listen, he had synced to, below 200 for a little while.
They're concerned. They're concerned about his defense, Jack, too. That he's not getting to the ball. His speed has dropped off. I mean, they look at everything. They don't just look at, him getting the bases or getting on base, which he has done. He has done that. He hasn't
been bad defensively. He's dropped off a little, but he hasn't been bad.
Well, his speed has dropped off quite a bit from 2 years ago, and it's dropped off from last year too. So they're a little concerned about. I'm not saying they're good. Yeah. I'm not saying they're concerned to the point where they just want to get rid of him, because I think they would keep him if they could. He's an extra outfielder. You always need an extra outfielder that gives people rest. But I'm just saying they're looking to upgrade just a little bit. I don't blame them. But they can be
this year. He has 4 years left on his contract at $10 million per year.
Right.
I mean, $10 million. It's not a mega amount of money in this day and age, but it's still a nice payday. And if you have an additional $40 million invested in a player beyond this season, you don't give up on him that easy. You kind of hope maybe you could deal him to another team that would pick up his contract, or did the Yankees find a team who would split his contract?
That's
so
what I'm
you
thinking.
want to eat $20 million.
That's what I'm thinking.
Brian Cashman becomes enthralled with certain players. It's a Brian Cashman move. Brian Cashman absolutely loved everything about Aaron Hicks. So he
Right.
signed him to that deal. It wasn't a bad deal for the Yankees at the
Not at the
time
time.
they signed him.
No,
Because
not
it was
at the
for
time.
a total of $70 million for 7 years. That was reasonable. My
Yes.
way of thinking, Hicks was taking a gamble as well. Because if Hicks was able to perform the way he did before he signed the contract, he would be more like a $14, $15 million a year play as opposed to 10. So they kind of met Hicks kind of halfway on it. And
I
as
agree.
it turned out, it was a good thing Hicks signed the deal for himself.
I agree there too. And like you said, it's not a lot of money for the Yankees, Jack. It's not. If they could split with another team, the $20 million hit ain't gonna hurt them.
Another team will pay him $5 million a year.
Right.
It's a possibility.
It's a possibility. So
Yeah. I
the,
mean,
the great thing is, Jack, they have the opportunity to do this. They're not rushing around trying to plug holes. What they have right now is set. As you said, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But if they played 500 right now for the rest of the season, they're almost at 100 games, and that will get them in the playoffs.
you kind of wonder what the perception of Yankee fans are going to be if the Yankees continue on this run. And let's say they win 105 games, for argument's sake, they're a little better than 500, and they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs. What is the percent? I'm not going to say I told you so myself, because they would have exceeded any expectation that I had. And I would think, wow, it was a great year for the Yankees. It's a shame they couldn't continue it in the playoffs. That would be my attitude.
I would be disappointed with a year
But
like that.
fans were going to be, because fans
will be
weren't as
disappointed.
pessimistic about them as I was. So even though they're pleasantly surprised, Yankee fans aren't shocked over how they're doing. They're
Right.
just pleasantly surprised,
Right.
like yours truly, who's been shocked. So the pressure's going to be on in the playoffs. I mean, there's big time pressure.
I don't know, Jack. I think they'll win the division. I really do. But
But
as I
they've got to
said-
go to the World Series. Anything short of at least going to the World Series is going to be
all right.
met
Suppose
harshly by Yankees.
they get up the championship against Astros. The Astros have a good team. They have a very good team. And suppose they lose in 7 games, Jack. Do you think that's a success? I kind of do.
Yankee fans won't look at it that way.
I would.
Listen,
Because I
Mac, you early in the year, you guys like, I'm not sure you directly, but Keith Engel, he would be talking negatively about Brian Cashman, saying maybe Brian Cashman has to go. They haven't been to a World Series since 2009. That's the bottom line. The Yankees took the Astros to 7 games before, didn't they? Girardi's last year with them, it wasn't good enough.
Right.
It wasn't, and they overachieved that year.
I have never said get rid of Cashman only if you got a better option or an equal option, right? Because he may, you spend enough time with a team, you might lose a little bit of an edge, Jack, right? Because you get comfortable. Yeah, everybody does. So if they could pick up a general manager that was equal to, or maybe, I don't know about if it could be better than what he's done, but equal to him, it might be a good change. It might be a fresh change for
Brian
them.
Cashman's done an excellent job on balance. What I like about Brian Cashman is he shows loyalty to the team. It's not a quick fix. The Aaron Judge contract situation is a case in point. Aaron Judge is going to be outstanding the next few years, but they don't want to sign him to this crazy long-term deal. Like, they're not going to give him a 9-10 year deal. That's
We'll see, Jack.
ludicrous. I don't think the Yankees.
I've
buckle.
changed my
I think
mind.
the Yankees-
Listen, I've changed my mind on that. I think they're going to give him almost anything he wants to stay there.
I don't think so at all. Not at all.
He could be a Dave Winfield who plays really well in his late years, Jack. You never know. You don't know.
Dave Winfield wasn't with the Yankees in the later years.
I know, but I'm just saying he played very well into his late years. Very well.
You're talking about going to age 40. I wouldn't count on it. The Yankees are going to hold firm. They might give him an 8-year deal when all is said and done, but that's as far as they would go.
But I think the price,
team,
if they do eight, Jack, then the price will go up, though. I guarantee you that too. So
price would go up somewhat. Yeah.
So, folks, thanks for joining us. We're close to the top of the hour. Outstanding show today, as always, with Carter and Iceman coming in and taking it a little easy on me, because, hey, listen, At least I had him on. I got the guts to bring him on. Jack, as always, great commentary.
Wally took it easy on you.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Carter took it easy on me.
Yes, he did. He did. So there you go. All right, folks. We'll see you tomorrow on the Friday show. I won't be here. I've got some things that I've got to go get some treatment. Philly guy will be filling in for me. Same guest, same show. Tune in and watch him. He'll be on at 8 to 10 again tomorrow. Have a great weekend, folks. I'll see you on Saturday. And again, enjoy your Friday night. And thanks. Let me get this to end the broadcast. Thanks for joining us.